All right, eighth graders, we are on part 3 of today's career activities. So far, I hope you guys had a fun revisiting your interests and hopefully coming up with your top 3 Holland interest type. I hope we learned a little bit more about the difference between interests and values, and you learned about the top 20 values, and you were able to categorize those and rank those in a certain order, and that you got some feedback on that. Hopefully you were able to see if any of those connected together, whether some of the top careers on the interest side also matched up with some that fit your values. That would be ideal. That's like what we're really shooting for here today. On this third component, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to look at lifestyle and money in a certain kind of way. We know that a huge component of finding a satisfying career someday is finding your sense of purpose, right? And the byproduct of that is, or maybe not the byproduct, but a secondary part of having a career someday is obviously to make some money, make compensation so that you can survive and live and pay your bills. We're going to talk about lifestyle assessment today. We're going to talk about here in a little bit. I'm going to run you through some stuff. And when we define lifestyle, what we're really talking about is how do you spend your free time, and then how do you spend your money, really. When you think of living a lifestyle, a lot of people in Montana live a lifestyle of being in the outdoors. That's why they live in Montana, because they want to be able to get off work and go run the trails, shout out Profe, or get on a mountain bike and go mountain biking, or go fishing, or go camping, or do some of that stuff. If you live in a bigger urban area, your lifestyle might be going to shows, catching your favorite artists coming through, going to concerts, going to professional sports or professional ballet or professional musicals. That would be a lifestyle you live. A lot of people like living in Montana because there's less traffic and slower pace of life. That's a lifestyle. The lifestyle a lifestyle assessment we're gonna do today that I'm gonna run you through is more based around how do you spend your money. And I'm gonna explain all these different lifestyle criterias. I'm gonna teach you a little bit about them, and then I'm gonna take it myself and we're gonna come up with a figure. When I like to do this activity in person, I like to ask kids one of two questions. Number one, does your career determine your lifestyle, or does your lifestyle determine your career? And what I'm saying is, if your career determines your lifestyle, you get the career that fits your interests and fits your values, you figure out how much money that you're going to make, and then you set a lifestyle based off that amount. If you are figuring a lifestyle that fits your career, you're saying, okay, I want to live this kind of lifestyle, and then I got to find a career that can pay me that amount of money. My guidance as a school counselor would be, find a career that is fulfilling, find a career that fits your purpose, and then figure out how much money you're going to make, and then set a lifestyle off of that. I know a lot of unhappy people that make a lot of money that are able to live those lifestyle things, but they hate their jobs. I know a lot of people that love, like myself, I love coming to school every day, interacting with you guys, laughing, joking, having serious conversations, doing career stuff like this. I absolutely love it, and I would rather love what I do for 8 hours a day than hate what I do but make a lot of money and then be able to go do some other things. If you think about it, we have 24 hours in a day. Hopefully 8 of those hours you're sleeping, which leaves us 16. Of the 16 hours you're awake, you were working half of your awake life Monday through Friday. So again, I'm really guiding you to find something that you enjoy doing and find something that you want to do. So on today's lifestyle assessment, we're going to go through. Please pay attention to the descriptions. You're going to go through and do it yourself, and then at the end, it's going to say, living in Montana, you need to make this amount of money to live that lifestyle. And then we can go backtrack and double check and see, here's a list of careers that make that much money, or by now we have some other careers, and if the careers that you were looking at earlier makes enough money to the lifestyle that you want to live, then let's go ahead and put another check mark there. Hopefully today we are finding a career where it fits our interests, fits our values, one check mark, and then fits our lifestyle assessment, another check mark. Hope you guys enjoy this activity. Hope you guys enjoyed today. Hope you learned some new stuff, got to know yourself a little bit better, and you're feeling re-energized for your academics moving forward, and you're feeling energized towards finishing this 8th grade year strong, signing up and being at Helena High School or whatever high school you choose next year. So I'm out. Hope you guys have fun with this. Under assessments on this red bar, if we go to assessments, we're going to go down to reality check, and we're going to click on that. We're going to watch this quick video that's kind of going to give us an intro into some things that I've already talked about. We will watch this real quick, and then we will get started with the next instructions.
Meet Dave. Dave is 22 and about to graduate from college with a degree in computer science. He hasn't found a job yet, but wants to work in the IT industry as a software developer. Dave plans to make $150,000 a year, live in a big house, drive a sports car in the summer, and a big truck in the winter, and take lots of vacations with his friends, where he spares no expense. Unfortunately, Dave's plans aren't very realistic. Dave needs a reality check. Entry-level software developers make about 1/3 of what Dave plans on making, which means Dave's house won't be quite as big. He'll have to trade the sports car and truck for a more affordable option. And we'll have to settle with fewer, less extravagant vacations. Given time and hard work, Dave might reach his original plans, but at this stage of his life, they weren't realistic. Use Reality Check to get a realistic view of how much it will cost to live on your own after school, how much you'll need, and what you can make in various careers.
Okay, once we are done watching that video, which we're actually not going to watch because we all just watched it together, we're going to go down and click on Get a Reality Check or Start Your Reality Check. Now, this program only gives you the options for living in Montana. Obviously, if you live outside of Montana, the cost of living is much more expensive, or in some places it's a little bit more affordable, but the jobs and the amount of money you make are geared around Montana, and so it's pretty much all equal. You can pick whatever spot in Montana you want to live in. Western Montana is probably the most expensive. Northeastern's probably the cheapest. Eastern Central probably somewhere in between, depending on where you live. So for this demonstration today, I'm just going to pick Western Montana. Again, you can pick wherever you want to live. So the first question within Reality Check is, what type of housing will you need? When you become an adult and you're out there living in the real world, your biggest expense is going to be dwelling. A dwelling is a fancy word for where do you want to live. Obviously, there are a lot of millennials, which is the age frame you guys are considered. There are a lot of millennials that live at home because they graduate high school or they graduate college and they're working in a job and they're not making enough money to buy their own place, and so they live at home, which obviously this option is free. The average one-bedroom apartment in the state of Montana and Western Montana is going to cost you about $620. You can find some that are a little cheaper. You can find some that are more expensive. A two-bedroom apartment is going to cost you $780. Three-bedroom, $1,020. Again, this is all on average. Average house payment's going to cost you $1,230. I would say that's probably about for a $200,000 home on average, $220,000 home. The other thing you can do is you can put in your own amount. So think about what kind of living situation you would want to live in. And we're going to just go ahead and pick one. I'm just going to pick two-bedroom apartment. Because that would give me enough space to maybe have an office, an extra room, a guest room if I had people come over, or I think I'm going to pick two-bedroom apartment. So we're going to go ahead and pick that, and then we're going to click next. When you are living on your own, it's not just your mortgage payment or your rental payment that you have to pay. You also have to pay something called utilities. You need electricity. You need heat. You need other utilities so you can live in comfort. On this, I'm going to go ahead and click all of them. Electricity is going to vary by how much electricity you use and how hot, how warm you want to keep your house or your apartment. Smaller the apartment, cheaper the electricity. Bigger the house, more expensive the electric bill will be. Um, Other home energy to keep your house warm. You have to pay water a lot of times, so you can water your lawn, so you can take showers, do the dishes, do laundry, that sort of thing. And let's go ahead and click trash as well. Because if you live in the city, that's taken care of. If you live outside of this city, that a lot of times is something that you have to pay. You have to pay somebody to haul your trash. So if you think that you're going to spend something different than some of these figures, go ahead and put other in there. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm just going to go ahead and click on all four. All right. The next thing we are going to need to decide is which communication, television, internet, cell phone stuff we would like. There are many ways to stay connected with family, friends, in the outside world. Some companies bundle things together, like my stuff is, or some you got to pay for separately. Cell phone bill. I think everybody needs a cell phone, and I want to say that if you have a smartphone, this is probably closer to $100. So I'm going to go ahead and put $100 in there. If you have a cell phone, I don't have a landline. I don't know too many people that do anymore. Maybe your parents. Obviously, with cable, there's a bunch of different cable packages out there. If you want to not have TV, you can just not select this. If you want to have all the movie channels, I want to say this can be closer to maybe like $100. So I'm going to just go ahead and click the standard $65 and then decide, do you want internet? I have internet at my house. I'm thinking about getting rid of it because it's actually $45 a month. For the sake of this activity, I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. So again, like many lifestyle decisions, you've really got to decide the haves and have-nots, what you want and what you want to pay for. So I'm going to go ahead and click next on this screen. All right, the next essential thing that we all need is food, obviously, or we will wither and die. And when it comes to choosing food, we have two kind of main options. We can either go to the grocery store, buy our own meals, cook our own meals, pack our own lunches, eat at home. This isn't as glamorous as eating out. Obviously, there's work that it entails to cook your own meals, but the cost is a lot more affordable. The other option is eating out. And eating out is a convenience. Eating out is there's no preparation. You don't have to clean up after yourself. Depending on how good of a cook you are, maybe the food quality is better. You get served on, you get waited on. But that's also going to come at a price. Realistically, maybe you do some combo plan that's somewhere in between where maybe you mostly eat at your home. Sometimes you eat out. This is, again, a decision, a personal decision we all need to make. Eating out is going to require more money. Eating at home is going to require less money. For the sake of this, right now, I'm just going to pick combo plan because that's probably closer to my lifestyle. I'm so busy all the time that I'd like to get some Panda Express every once in a while. I like to get some Village Inn pizza. I like to eat out a little bit. So I'm going to pick combo plan for this one, and I'm going to hit next. All right, another component of living on your own and being an adult is transportation. Depending on where you live, transportation can look very different. If you live in a big city, a big urban area, like I had a college friend that lived in Manhattan in New York City. He didn't even own a car. There was nowhere to drive it, nowhere to park it, specifically nowhere to park it. And he would end up taking public transportation, the subway everywhere, or he would take a taxi. And so he didn't have a car payment. Other times we're doing this living in Montana. In Montana, you pretty much have to have a vehicle because we're so spread out. So there are a few different options here. I guess if you lived centrally located in the city, and you could access a grocery store in your job, maybe riding a bike is a reasonable option, or public transportation. But I think for the sake of this argument, I'm going to go with, I drive an SUV right now, but I know my SUV payment isn't $735. Now, one thing I would like to say that they are incorporating into this price. and many of you that are 8th graders, you guys will be taking driver's ed here coming up. Vehicles are very expensive. It's not only the vehicle that you are paying for, but it is also things like licensing that you have to pay for once a year. I think licensing on my vehicle is about $400 a year. And then you have to pay insurance. The younger you are, and the more expensive and the nicer car you have, the higher insurance is. And that insurance is going to be very expensive until you turn 25, and then that's where there is a big drop off. You may say, why 25? Well, that is in part because your brain is fully developed at 25, specifically your frontal lobe, which determines your decision making. And when teens aren't making good decisions behind the wheel, it can be very expensive. When I was in high school, I got into a lot of crashes and I actually lost my insurance for a while. I was a bad driver there for a while when my frontal lobe was not fully developed. So these prices incorporate those other things. It's not just your car, it's licensing and it's insurance. For the sake of this, I'm going to just pick my own because I want to say when I incorporate everything, mine is about $600 a month. So I'm going to check that one and put that one in there. Again, you need to make your own personal decision of how would you like to get around and what kind of transportation you would like to use. All right, we all need clothes. Now, some of us like to buy new clothes. Some of us like to have new clothes. Everybody needs clothes to wear. The good thing about clothes is you can wear them over and over until you outgrow them. But when you're an adult, you're about the same size. Some occupations require that you wear a certain wardrobe. Like I can't come dressed. I'm doing this. Today's Monday. We're off school today when I'm recording this right now. So I'm in a hooded sweatshirt and some sweats. I can't come to school dressed like this. If you're a professional, so everybody needs to decide how much money they want to allocate for clothing every month. Again, this is a personal decision. I'm just going to buy like what I have. I don't spend a whole lot on clothing. Maybe I'll buy a few basics. I'm going to budget $50 a month. Again, you do what works for you. All right, healthcare. Healthcare is become a huge deal in our society. Healthcare is a very complex thing. When you're an adult, it's very important you have health insurance. Why? Well, let's say you don't have health insurance and you get in a bad vehicle accident and you rack up 20, 30, 40, $100,000 in medical bills. If you don't have health insurance, you're going to have to find a way to pay that back someday. And the government could come after you. They could come take your house, your vehicles. They could come take your family stuff. It's really scary. Depending on what kind of profession you have, and I was going to do a Bob lesson on this in the spring, and I think I'm still going to, but for the sake of today, I don't have time. A lot of times when you have a professional job, maybe a job that requires a college degree, or a job that is more heavily sought after with better benefits, a lot of times part of your payment or part of your compensation is going to be your employer is going to pay for your health insurance or pay for a big portion of it. If you are working in more of a low skilled job that doesn't require heavy levels of education, that is lower on the paying end, there's a very good chance that you will not be getting health insurance paid for through your employer. And so when you go to pick your insurance, it can be very expensive. It can be up to $285 a month. You can buy it through work for cheaper, or you can go with no health insurance. And I still think with Obamacare, the $58 must be incorporating the fine. You get fined if you don't have it. But so we're going to go ahead and luckily right now I get mine paid through my job, so I'm going to put zero into here. I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate to have that. But you're going to go ahead and pick your own option. Remember, a lot of times if you are in a higher in-demand professional type job, kind of the trend is a lot of those jobs come with one of the benefits is your company that you work for, me being the school district, they're going to pay for my health insurance. Others you may have to pay for or buy through work on your own. All right, the next one is what will you do for entertainment? Because we have to have fun in life. Can't just be all work and no play. Some forms of entertainment are very cheap. Some can be more extravagant, depending on, again, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? How important is it to you that you are out doing things, enjoying your weekends, going out, going to the movies, traveling, going skiing, doing some of these things. Entertainment can be very cheap if you want to make your own fun. It can be very expensive if you're always on the go, going out frequently, spending a lot of money, so on and so forth. I'm going to pick mainly hang out. Some of the things I like to do is go to the gym, go hiking with my dog, rent movies. I'm kind of cheap in terms of entertainment, the things I like to do. Go mountain biking. One of the things living in Helen is we have lots of entertainment options, getting out in the outdoors for not much money. So again, you're going to have to pick what works for you. All right, personal care is something that's very important, that we keep our hygiene up, that we stay physically fit. Personal care items include haircuts, makeup, gym memberships, buying shampoo, buying soap, buying deodorant, buying toothpaste, buying toothbrushes, just these little random things that start to catch up, maybe getting a massage, so on and so forth. I know my gym membership is like $50 a month. Maybe I'll go with medium because I end up buying some soap, deodorant here, there. I'm not big into getting massages, and luckily I have short hair. I know for longer hair people, getting their hair done costs a little bit more than if you have short hair. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the $60 option for my personal care. It's important to take care of ourselves and be clean, be physically fit, be active. Shout out to our PE teachers, 8th grade PE teachers, Mr. Knox, Mr. Smensky, Miss Goebel. All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, this next slide is miscellaneous items. This can just be random stuff that doesn't necessarily fit into a category. Let me think of some miscellaneous things in my world. Buying new bath mats or new towels, or replacing light bulbs. I don't even know. Just a lot of miscellaneous stuff. Miscellaneous expenses in my world, I'm just going to say it's just low. So I'm going to pick the $100 option. All right. How much will you spend on student loans? And this is a very, very, very tricky one for kids your age, because some of you may be thinking you're college bound. Some of you may be thinking you want to do a 2-year program at like Helena College of Technology, or Helena College, I guess it's called now. Some of you may be thinking I got to get my high school degree and get working, and all of those are great situations. This question is geared more towards those people that do end up going to college, either a 2-year associate degree program, bachelor's degree, which is 4 years, graduate degree, which is 6 years. And within that, there's many different variables involved. Do you go to an in-state school? In-state schools are like Missoula, Bozeman, Montana Western, aka the Harvard of the West. That's a joke. MSU Billings. Those are all in-state schools. MSU Northern. Do you go to a private school like Carroll College, Rocky Mountain College? I think like Gonzaga is a private school. There's lots of different private schools out there. The other main thing that you need to think about is, do you get scholarship or grant opportunities? Hopefully for many of you that are thinking about going to college, you start out next year at high school keeping your grades very high and working very hard and getting some scholarships. I was fortunate enough to have my college paid for my bachelor's degree because on an athletic scholarship. So I was very fortunate. I worked very hard on that and it paid off. Some of you are going to do some dual credit stuff, and that's a decision you need to start thinking about right now, is front loading and getting ahead. Some of you are ahead of the curve in honors math or algebra or Spanish, shout out profe. And so that you put yourself in a position when you're a senior, you can start taking dual credit classes for much cheaper. So this is kind of a tricky one to put on here. I ended up getting my graduate degree, but I didn't go into much debt because I had some money saved, so that's not very applicable. Again, if you go private nonprofit, that's going to be more expensive than if you go to a public university. And as what happens is the difference for a lot of people that they don't pay up front or it isn't covered with scholarships, you end up taking out student loans. And then when you graduate with your diploma or when you're done going to college, most of the time you'll have to start paying, I believe, 6 months after you're done. So Luckily for me, I was able to get out with not very much debt, so I'm going to put my own in here. I'm just going to put $100 a month. I'm going to take bachelor's degree off. So again, just do your best to guesstimate where you think you may be. We don't expect you to know this right now. Again, a part of this is trying to forecast. All right, the final question we have to answer is how much money will you save? And this is another one where I wanted to do a separate Bob lesson on it, and I think I'm going to for the spring. Very closely tied to the health insurance question. When we're making money, we've got to put some aside for savings. Well, we don't have to, but if you would like to retire someday and not work when you're 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, however long you live, a good strategy is to start with some savings. And a typical savings is, you may hear your parents refer to it as a 401k. And how this works is, before you get your paycheck, you're going to take a certain percentage and you're going to take and put that aside. Now, a lot of professional jobs offer something called a 401k, where they say if you take 6%, we will match that. We'll give you free money. So now that becomes 12%. And as what happens is they take that money, they invest it into the stock market where it earns interest over time. And so by the time you get to be 55, 60, 65 years old, you have all this money saved up that you've been putting aside for all these years, and that money has doubled, tripled, quadrupled because of interest, and now you have money to live on, so you don't have to work when you get to be a certain age. Obviously, the higher the percentage you save now, the more that's going to double, triple, quadruple by the time you are ready to retire. Now, what's the downside of that? The downside of it is you won't have as much money to spend now. And so much with money is, would you like to have it now, or would you like to have a lot of it later? I think right now they just automatically, being a teacher, they automatically take some out. In my old job, I was putting away 6%, and my company would match half of that. So I would put in 6%, they would put in 3%. I have a buddy that works for the federal government that matches, so he puts in like 18%. He makes a lot more money than I do, so he can afford to do that, and he's going to have a nice retirement. Some people, unfortunately, aren't making very much money, and as you can see from all these previous categories, all this stuff has really added up. So at the end of the month, I don't have money to save, and so maybe people put that at 0%. Now, the obvious downside of that is you're probably going to be working the rest of your life and never able to retire unless you come into money down the road sometime. So I think for this exercise, I want to say that they probably tax about 7% of the money I make, and that goes towards retirement. So I'm going to choose the 7% option. Again, you need to choose what works for you. All right, now that we have answered all these questions, below are the items and the amounts that I've selected. Now that you know what your expenses are, the next step is to find out which occupations pay you the salary you need to afford the lifestyle. So, according to this that I just went through with you, okay, after you take out federal taxes, which you have to pay to the government, after you take out state taxes, this is telling me that I need to make $43,000 a year in order to have this lifestyle that I have chosen. And again, this is just for me. So this is telling me that based on the lifestyle that I would like to live, that I just went through with all of you, that you guys are going to do on your own, you need to make $43,000 a year. Now, you'll remember I talked in the intro. We have two different ways of looking at this. We need to decide what's most important to us. In guiding you guys as 8th graders, the best thing to do is go out there, prepare, and find a career that you're really going to enjoy. Because again, 62,400 hours is a lot of hours to work doing something you don't like to do. Our advice: go out, follow your heart, follow what's really going to give you fulfillment, what's really going to fill your sense of purpose every day. Figure out how much money you're going to make from that, and then build a lifestyle around that. Conversely, the other way you can look at it is to say, no, my lifestyle is more important. I don't care if I don't like my job. I want to figure out how much money I need to make, and then I'm going to go find a job that matches that. So there's two different ways you can do it. You can either put the cart in front of the horse, or the horse in front of the cart. We prefer that you put the horse in front of the cart. You figure out what your purpose is, figure out what kind of career you want to be doing, figure out what's going to intrinsically reward you every day, where you get up out of bed and you just can't wait to go to your job, because it's more than a job or a career. It's your purpose. It's what you're meant to be doing, and you get satisfaction out from doing that.